Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight's story will take you deep into the strange and sleepless side of history. Forget everything you've seen in the movies. The glory of Rome wasn't built on shining armour and heroic speeches in front of a cheering senate. It was built on sweat, blood and blisters. It was forged in the most brutal, soul-crushing daily grind in the ancient world. You are a Roman legionary, and your life is less about epic battles and more about enduring the worst commute in human history. Before we enlist you for this journey into the mud and the misery, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Consider it signing your legionary oath. It ensures you won't miss our next deployment into history. The year is 78 AD. You are not in the warm, sun-drenched heart of Italy, in a villa surrounded by olive groves. You're stationed at the very edge of the known world, in the cold, damp, and perpetually twilight forests of Germania. This is the frontier. A place where the line between the empire and barbarism is not a wall of stone, but a fragile line you draw in the dirt with your own sweat and blood every single night. You are Gaius, a simple foot soldier from a small farm in Etruria, now serving in the Legio IXth Hispana. You are not a hero or a general destined for immortal fame. You're a cog in the machine, a single replaceable part of the 5,000-man engine that conquered the world. And your day, this day, is not about glory. It is about survival. Your day begins in absolute, suffocating darkness. There is no gentle sunrise filtering through a window. There is only the sound, a harsh, guttural, soul-shaking blast from the cornu, a massive brass horn that sounds less like a musical instrument and more like a mythical beast groaning in pain. The sound tears through the thin leather of your tent, through the fog of your shallow sleep and straight into your bones. There is no snooze button. This is your reality. To hesitate to linger for even a single precious moment in the thin warmth of your wool blanket is to invite the wrath of your optio, and worse, the stinging bite of your centurion's vine staff. You're in a cramped 8-man leather tent, your contubernum. This is your home, your barracks, and your entire world, shared with the 7 other men you eat, march, fight, and sleep beside. The air inside is thick and heavy, a foul cocktail of damp wool, old leather, the stale, sour breath of 7 other men, the oily tang of lanolin, and the ever-present smell of fear. You know each of these men better than you knew your own brothers back home. You know the sound of their breathing, their distinct snores, the way they mutter in their sleep about wives they haven't seen in years, or farms they may never see again. There is Lucius, the grizzled veteran on his 20th year of service, who moves with a silent, weary economy of motion. There is Marcus, the new recruit from Gaul, his face still young enough to be smooth, who still fumbles with his straps in the dark. And there is Quintus, who greets every morning with a new whispered complaint. You move with a practiced, silent efficiency, born of 1,000 identical mornings. You fold your blanket, your muscles screaming in protest from yesterday's 20-mile march through sucking mud. Every part of your body aches with a deep, grinding weariness that has settled into your very marrow. But you do not complain. Complaint is a luxury you cannot afford. In the Legion, complaining is a symptom of weakness, and weakness is a disease that can get your entire unit, your entire brotherhood killed. You're a machine, and the machine is waking up. Your next stop is the cook fire, a small flickering island of light in the vast pre-dawn gloom of the camp. Breakfast is not a meal to be savoured. It is a grim, joyless task to be completed. You're handed your ration by a fellow soldier on duty. It is a brick of panis militaris, military hardtack. It's a dense, twice-baked biscuit so tough you could probably use it to knock a man unconscious. It has the texture of petrified wood and the flavour of dust and despair. This is the ancient world's all-day energy bar, designed for durability, not delight. All-day energy bar, designed for durability, not delight. To make it even remotely edible, You break off a piece against a rock and dunk it into a wooden cup of posca. Posca is the official sports drink of the Roman army, a mixture of water drawn from a questionable stream, soured wine, and sometimes a few crushed herbs for flavour. It has a sharp, acidic bite that makes your eyes water, but it kills the lurking bacteria in the water and provides a small, welcome jolt of energy. You chew the softened, vinegary bread slowly, methodically. This isn't about pleasure. This is about loading your body with enough calories to endure the day ahead. Each bite is a conscious act of will, forcing fuel into an engine that is already running on fumes. Some mornings, if the supply lines from Gaul are good and the quartermaster is in a generous mood, you might get a scoop of wheat porridge, boiled into a bland, grey, glutinous paste. You eat it without a word, standing in the pre-dawn chill, watching the massive camp slowly, inexorably come to life around you. You hear the rhythmic, ringing clang of the blacksmith's hammers from the fabrica, already at their forges, repairing armour and sharpening blades. You hear the mule skinners shouting curses at their stubborn animals, the NCOs barking orders that cut through the damp air like a whip. The Legion is a living, breathing city on the move, and it is always, always working. The meagre breakfast is finished, a joyless necessity completed. The first faint light of dawn now seeps into the camp, a cold grey illumination that promises no warmth, only visibility. Around you, the great machine of the Legion continues to stir, a city of leather and iron shaking off the chill of the German night. After the fuel comes the armour. Getting dressed is not a simple matter of throwing on clothes. It is a complex half-hour ritual of strapping on over 60 pounds of life-saving, back-breaking equipment. This is your skin of iron and leather, the shell you will inhabit until dusk. First comes the wool tunic, dyed a deep, earthy red. The wool is coarse, relentlessly itchy, and probably still a little damp from yesterday's rain, clinging unpleasantly to your skin. Over that, you pull on a padded sub-armorless, a vest of linen or leather stuffed with wool scraps, designed to prevent the armour from chafing your skin raw and to absorb some of the shock from blows. It offers a sliver of comfort in a profoundly uncomfortable existence. Then, the main event, the lorica segmentata. The iconic overlapping plates of iron, held together by a complex system of internal leather straps. It's an engineering marvel, a masterpiece of articulated protection that allows for a surprising range of movement. It's also a nightmare to put on by yourself. You rely on Marcus, your tent mate, to help with the series of leather straps and bronze buckles on the back. His fingers are still clumsy, and you mutter a quiet instruction as he fumbles with a fastening. The iron plates are shockingly cold against your body, a stark reminder of the day's violent purpose. They clank and scrape as you move, a sound that will become the constant, monotonous soundtrack of your life. It is the sound of the Legion. Next, you fasten your belt, the cingulum. It's not just for holding up your tunic, it is a statement of your status as a soldier. The leather straps hanging from the front, the apron, are studded with bronze discs. They offer a little extra protection to your groin, but more importantly they make a distinctive jingling sound as you march. It's a sound of intimidation, a signal to any watching tribesman that a professional is on the move. You strap your gladius, the short, broad-bladed sword, to your right hip. It's placed there not for comfort but for a quick, efficient, upward-stabbing draw that is unimpeded by your large shield. This is the 19-inch problem solver that carved out an empire. You've spent countless hours practicing with its wooden counterpart against a wooden stake, until its use is pure, unthinking muscle memory. On your left, the Pugio, your personal dagger. It's your last line of defence, a tool for camp chores, and your all-purpose utility knife.
Finally, the helmet, the Galea. It's a heavy bowl of iron, with wide cheek guards that severely restrict your peripheral vision and a reinforced bar across the brow. When you put it on, the world changes. It narrows to what is directly in front of you. The sounds of the camp become muffled, dominated by the hollow, echoing sound of your own breathing. In this moment you cease to be Gaius, the farmer's son from Etruria, a man with a past and a family. You become an anonymous, terrifying instrument of Roman will, a faceless monster in a wall of iron. But you're not done. Because, of course, you're not. You are not just a warrior. You are a beast of burden. You pick up your sarcina, a heavy wooden T-shaped pole that you carry over your shoulder. From it hangs your entire, miserable life, your rolled-up wool blanket, a spare tunic, your personal cooking pot, patera, a small leather pouch with the few silver denarii that constitute your life savings, and several days' worth of grain rations in a sack. And strapped to this already heavy pack are your tools of empire, a shovel, delabra, a wicker basket for moving earth, a saw, and 2 heavy, sharpened oak stakes called suits. You are not just a soldier. You are a construction worker, an engineer, a logger. You are a Marius's mule, a nickname for legionaries since the great reforms a century and a half ago. All told, with your heavy shield scutum in hand, you are now carrying close to 100 pounds. And the real work of the day hasn't even begun. The centurion, Lucius Vibius, strides into view. He moves with a predatory confidence that sets him apart from the common soldiers. He is a bull of a man, his face a road map of old scars from campaigns in Dacia and Judea, each line a testament to a battle survived. His armor is more ornate than yours, his larica hamada, a shirt of mail, gleaming with polished bronze fittings. His helmet is crested with a transverse plume of horsehair, a feature that doesn't just mark him as an officer but also makes him an easily identifiable rally point in the chaos of battle. In his hand, he carries his vitus, a gnarled vine staff that is his badge of office and his primary tool of motivation. He doesn't speak, he barks. His voice is a gravelly roar that can cut through the chaos of battle and strike fear into the hearts of both friend and foe. And when he barks, 5,000 men obey instantly and without question. The order is given. Form ranks! The horns blast again, a new, more urgent call that echoes off the surrounding trees. Your day's commute begins. Today is not a battle day. Today is a standard march. For the next 8 hours, you will do one thing, and one thing only, walk. This is not a pleasant hike through the countryside. This is a forced march at a regulated pace, in full gear, for 20 Roman miles, regardless of the weather or the terrain. You move in a tight, disciplined column, 8 men across. The man in front of you sets the pace. The hobnails on the bottom of his sandals, his caligy, are 3 inches from your face. The man behind you is just as close. If you stumble, if you slow down for even a second, you will be trampled. The column does not stop. It does not wait. It is a river of iron and leather, and it flows relentlessly forward. The rhythm is hypnotic and brutal. Thump, clank, squeak, thump, clank, squeak. The sound of 10,000 sandals hitting the dirt in unison. The sound of armor plates rubbing together. The sound of leather squeaking under a heavy load. No one talks. Conversation is a waste of breath, and breath is a precious commodity. The only sounds are the barked orders from the centurions and optios, and the relentless, soul-destroying rhythm of the march. Dust kicks up from the dry patches of the trail, a fine, gritty powder that coats your tongue and fills your nostrils. This is the true, unglamorous secret of Roman power. Not the sword, but the march. The ability to move an entire army, an entire mobile fortress, faster and more efficiently than any other force on earth. The Germanic tribes you fight are fierce warriors, masters of the ambush, but they cannot outrun the legion. You don't just defeat your enemies, you wear them down with your relentless, inexorable, grinding advance. You are a cog in this terrible, unstoppable machine. And the grind is the whole point. Every single night, without fail, a Roman legion on the move builds a fully fortified marching camp from scratch. This isn't a suggestion, it is an unbreakable law of military survival. While you and the other legionaries catch your breath, the engineers and surveyors are already at work. They move with a speed and precision that is terrifying to behold, using measuring rods and sighting tools like the groma to lay out a perfect rectangle in the wilderness. The perimeter is marked with colored flags. The locations for the main gates are staked out. They are the architects of your temporary world. You are simply the labor. Then comes the order you've been dreading all day. The centurion's voice cuts through your brief moment of rest, and there is no arguing with it. You unstrap the shovel you've been carrying on your back. It feels impossibly heavy. Your job, along with half the legion, is to dig the fossa, a massive ditch, 12 feet wide and 9 feet deep, around the entire perimeter of the camp. The work is agonizing. Your body is already screaming from the march. Your hands, soft from a few days of relative quiet, are already blistering from the rough wood of the shovel's handle. But you dig. You dig with the rhythmic, desperate efficiency of a machine. The dirt you excavate is thrown into a wicker basket and passed to another man, who carries it to the inside edge to form the adger, a massive earthen wall that grows with every shovelful. While you dig, other cohorts are on guard duty, forming a protective, bristling screen of shields and javelins around the worksite. Still others are sent out in heavily armed parties to forage for wood and water. Nothing is ever left to chance. The camp is built with the assumption that an attack is not a possibility, but an inevitability. Once the wall is high enough, you take out the 2 heavy oak stakes, the suds, that you've been carrying on your back all day. These weren't just dead weight, they are the teeth of your fortress. You plant them firmly on top of the earthen wall, their sharpened points facing outward. When all 5,000 men have planted their stakes, they interlock to form a vicious, impenetrable palisade that would break the charge of any attacking warband. Within 3 to 4 hours, a patch of empty, threatening ground has been transformed into a fortress, complete with a perfect grid of streets, designated areas for each cohort, and the general's headquarters at the center. It is a miracle of logistics, discipline, and sheer, brutal hard labor. To an outsider, it would look like magic. To you, it just feels like another Tuesday. It is your daily reality. And you will do it all over again tomorrow. As dusk finally settles, casting long, spooky shadows from the trees, the last stake is hammered into place. The horns sound again, a softer, more welcome tone this time, signaling the end of labor. The camp is secure. And now, for a few precious, fleeting hours, you are allowed to be almost human again. You return to your designated tent space, moving with the slow, shuffling gait of a man whose body has given everything it has, and then some. The small plot of ground assigned to your contubernium is identical to the thousands of others that form the perfect, relentless grid of the camp, yet it is your entire universe. You and your 7 tent mates collapse around the spot where your fire will be, not so much sitting as allowing gravity to reclaim you. For a few long moments, nobody speaks. There is only the sound of heavy breathing, the groan of tired muscles, and the clatter of armor being unstrapped. The relief of removing the larica segmentata is a sensation so profound it borders on religious ecstasy. The 60-pound weight lifts from your shoulders, and a wave of cool air hits your sweat-soaked tunic. It feels like shedding a skin of iron and pain. You work your shoulders, trying to coax life back into the bruised muscles. Every man in your group is doing the same, a silent, shared ritual of finding their own human form again beneath the layers of military hardware. Once the armor is off, the work of the evening begins. It is a different kind of work, quieter and more personal. Marcus, the recruit, is sent to the quartermaster with the group's tokens to collect the evening rations, a sack of grain, some dried lentils, a chunk of salted pork so hard it could be used as a whetstone, and perhaps a few withered onions. While he's gone, you and the others prepare. You start a small fire, coaxing a flame from dry tinder you carefully guard in a leather pouch. The smoke curls up into the rapidly darkening twilight sky, joining the smoke from 1,000 other small fires, creating a hazy, domestic ceiling over this city of war. The evening meal is the central event of your brief respite. It is usually a thick stew, or a porridge called pulse. Tonight it's a stew. You all contribute something. You use your pugio to shave slivers from the salted pork and drop them into the communal cooking pot. Lucius, the veteran, crushes some wild garlic he found during a water run, adding it to the pot with the practiced air of a master chef, though the result will be anything but gourmet. The lentils, the grain, the onions, everything goes into the pot with water from the skins. You take turns stirring it with a wooden spoon as it slowly bubbles over the flames. The smell is not appetizing in the way a meal from a Roman cookshop might be. It smells of salt, and smoke, and scorched iron. But it is the smell of sustenance. It is the smell of a hot meal at the end of a day that has done its best to kill you. When it's ready, you ladle the thick, grayish mixture into your personal mess tins. You find a spot on the ground, your back against a pack, and you eat. You devour it. The first spoonful of hot, salty stew is a shock to your system. The warmth spreads through your exhausted body, a slow, creeping tide of life pushing back the cold and the fatigue. It tastes like the finest meal you have ever eaten. You eat slowly, savoring each mouthful, making it last. This is not just about calories anymore. This is about reclaiming a small piece of your humanity. This is the moment you share with your contubernals, your brothers in misery. As you eat, the quiet breaks. Quintus, true to form, begins his nightly litany of complaints. "I swear by the gods, this pork is salter than the sea," he mutters, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I think the quartermaster is trying to pickle us from the inside out. Probably a cost-saving measure." No one tells him to be quiet. Quintus's complaining is a vital part of the group's ecosystem. He is the pressure valve. He says the things that everyone else is thinking but is too disciplined or too weary to articulate. His griping allows the rest of you to maintain your stoic, professional facade. Lucius, without looking up from his bowl, replies in his low, gravelly voice. "It's better than the pork in Britannia, Quintus. At least this one came from a pig. Over there, I think they made it from mud and disappointment." Marcus, the recruit, looks up, his eyes wide. "Is it true what they say about Britannia? That the fog is so thick you can't see the man marching in front of you?" Lucius takes a slow, deliberate bite before answering. "Sometimes. But the fog isn't the problem. The problem is the people who hide in it. They don't fight like the Germans. They don't charge you head on. They're like ghosts. They hit you and they're gone. We lost the whole patrol near Lindum once. Not a sound. They just vanished." He doesn't say it to scare the boy. He says it as a statement of fact, a lesson in the endless varieties of death this world has to offer. This is how veterans teach. Not with lectures, but with grim, unadorned stories. The meal finished, the pot scraped clean, you move on to the next, and arguably most important, ritual of the evening, the maintenance of your gear. Your life does not depend on your courage or your strength. It depends on the integrity of these pieces of leather and iron. Your centurion will inspect your gear in the morning, and any rust, any dullness, any frayed strap will earn you a public and painful beating with the vitus. But that's not the real reason you do it. You do it because a dull gladius or a broken strap can get you killed. You sit by the fire, the flickering light playing on your weary faces. You meticulously clean your equipment. You take out your gladius, and with a piece of rough cloth and some sand, you begin to polish the blade, scrubbing away the grime and moisture of the day. You work until the steel shines dully in the firelight. You check the edge for nicks, the point for dullness. This sword is not a heroic symbol. It is a tool. It is your primary tool. And your relationship with it is intimate, a bond of mutual survival. Then you turn your attention to your armor. You wipe down each plate of the larica segmentata, checking the internal leather straps for wear, making sure the bronze buckles are secure. You use a bit of animal fat to oil the moving parts, to keep them from rusting in the damp German air. You do not tell them about the man from the 3rd cohort who was carried off by a German raiding party last week, his cries swallowed by the indifferent forest. You do not tell them about the constant, cold, gnawing fear that lives in the pit of your stomach like a hard stone. You do not tell them these things because it would break their hearts, and because they could not understand. So you write your lies, your small, necessary kindnesses. You close the tablet, knowing that it might take months for a supply convoy to carry it south, and that it may never reach them at all. But the act of writing it, of reaching out across the vast, lonely expanse of the empire, is enough. For now. The fire is dying down now, the camp growing quieter. The laughter and the stories fade, replaced by a weary silence. You can feel the weight of the coming night watch settling over you. This brief, fragile illusion of peace is ending. The machine is preparing to sleep, but it never truly shuts down. Your name is called. The voice of the Optio, crisp and devoid of warmth, cuts through the quiet murmur of the camp. Gaius, third watch. It's not a request. It's a statement of fact. You feel a familiar, heavy sigh in your chest, but you don't let it escape your lips. You simply nod. Lucius, the veteran, who has been quietly observing the dying fire, claps a heavy hand on your shoulder. Stay awake, boy, he grunts. It's the closest he ever comes to expressing concern. It means, don't get yourself killed. Don't get us killed. You pull on your heavy wool cloak, the paenula, its lanolin-rich fabric a good defense against the damp and the chill. You pick up your shield and your pilum, the heavy Roman javelin, a weapon you thankfully didn't have to use today. You make your way through the quiet, orderly streets of the camp to the earthen wall. The camp at night is a different world. The bustling energy is gone, replaced by a tense, watchful silence. The only lights are the flickering torches at the gates and the lonely glow of watch fires along the rampart. The only sounds are the soft tread of patrols, the occasional cough from a nearby tent, and the distant, unsettling noises of the forest. You relieve the sentry from the second watch. He's a man from another cohort, his face a pale, tired mask in the torchlight. You exchange a quiet nod and a whispered password. He shuffles off towards the promise of his own cold bedroll, and you are left alone with the darkness. For the next 3 hours you will stand here, on the earthen rampart, in the bone-chilling cold and the absolute, suffocating dark, and you will stare into the blackness of the German forest. This is perhaps the hardest part of the day. The physical exhaustion is a roaring beast in your body, an agony that screams from every muscle and joint. But the mental strain of the night watch is a quiet, creeping poison. The forest is not silent. It is alive with 1,000 unseen things. It is a living, breathing entity that feels ancient and hostile. It hates you. Every snap of a twig could be a deer, or it could be a barbarian scout, his body painted in woad, creeping towards the ditch with a knife held between his teeth. Every hoot of an owl could be an owl, or it could be a signal between warriors, coordinating an attack. The wind whispering through the tall, dark pines sounds like a human voice, a sibilant, threatening language you can't quite understand. Your mind, starved for sleep and strained by the day's violence, begins to play tricks on you. A shadow cast by a shifting cloud looks like a man rising from the earth. A gnarled tree stump takes on the form of a crouching, monstrous beast. You find yourself holding your breath, straining to hear over the pounding of your own heart. Is that sound real? Did you really see something move out there, just at the edge of your vision? Your job is simple and impossible: to stay awake, to stay alert, to distinguish between the ghosts of your tired mind and a real, tangible threat. The safety of 5,000 sleeping men, your brothers, rests on your shoulders, and on the shoulders of the other sentries like you, lonely specks of vigilance in the vast, hostile night. To fall asleep on watch is the ultimate crime in the Legion. The penalty is not a beating. It is not a demotion. It is death by fusarium, being clubbed to death by your own comrades. So you do what you must. You shift your weight from one aching foot to the other. You bite the inside of your cheek until you taste blood, the sharp sting of pain a welcome anchor to reality. You pace the short length of your designated post, the soft crunch of your caligy on the damp earth the only proof that you are still moving, still alive. You stare into the suffocating darkness, and you think about your 25-year contract. 25 years. It feels like an abstract concept, an eternity. You are only in your 3rd year. The thought is so vast, so overwhelming, that your mind shies away from it. So you think about the small things instead. You think about the retirement plan, the anestamisio, the honorable discharge. You will be granted a plot of land, a small farm somewhere in a peaceful province, maybe back in Italy, maybe in Gaul. And a pension, a one-time payment large enough to live out your days in modest comfort. You will be a citizen with honors. The distant light at the end of this very long, dark tunnel. That is what you are fighting for. Not for the emperor, a distant, godlike figure you will never meet. Not for the abstract idea of glory, a word that has no meaning out here in the mud. You are fighting for that small piece of land. And you are fighting for the man standing on the wall 10 feet to your left. And he is fighting for you. You think about the skirmish from the afternoon. You see the barbarian's face again. His eyes wide with surprise as your blade went in. You feel the sickening jolt in your arm. You try to push the memory away, but it clings to you. This is what you have become. A killer. A professional. You wonder if the man had a family. You wonder if he was just a farmer, like your father, defending his home from invaders. You wonder if that makes you the barbarian. You push that thought away too. It is a dangerous thought. A thought that can break a man out here. You are a soldier of Rome. That is all you are. That is all you can afford to be. The hours crawl by with agonizing slowness. The moon, a pale, sickly sliver, offers no comfort. The cold deepens, seeping through your wool cloak, a damp chill that settles deep in your bones. But you do not waver. You stand your post. You are a Roman legionary. You are the wall. As the sky in the east begins to lighten from black to a deep, bruised purple, the horn sounds, signaling the changing of the watch. Your relief arrives, his face as tired and grim as your own. You exchange the password, and with a nod, you are released. You stumble back through the waking camp to your tent. The smell of wood smoke is already beginning to fill the air. The cycle is beginning again. You crawl into your tent, not even bothering to remove your tunic, and collapse onto your bedroll. You fall into a few hours of precious, dreamless sleep, a deep, black oblivion that is the only true peace you will know. And you sleep, until the corner blasts again. And as you sleep, the narrator's voice comes in, soft and low, over a slow pan of the vast, orderly, and menacing Roman camp, now fully visible in the pale morning light. As your watch finally ends, you are more than just a soldier. You are a road builder, an engineer, a surveyor, a policeman, and a bricklayer for the largest empire the world has ever known. The glory of Rome isn't in the marble halls of the Senate, filled with men in white togas debating philosophy. It's here, in the mud, in the discipline, in the calloused hands and the aching back of a man like you. It is in the sheer, stubborn, magnificent refusal to quit, day after grueling, soul-crushing day. You are the tip of the spear, but you are also the foundation it rests upon. And your daily, miserable, relentless grind is the true price of civilization. The screen fades in from black, not to a new morning, but to a montage of bleak, repetitive imagery, all under the same gray sky. We see Gaius and his comrades marching through snow. We see them digging a ditch in a torrential downpour. We see them standing guard under a blistering, hostile sun. The sounds are muted, dominated by the narrator's calm, steady voice. And the cornu does blast again. It always blasts again. And again. And again. Days bleed into weeks, weeks into months, and months into the long, brutal years of a frontier posting. The skirmish with the German warband becomes a distant, hazy memory, replaced by the memory of a dozen other skirmishes, each a blur of terror and savage efficiency. The seasons turn, but the routine remains locked in its ironclad rhythm. Winter in Germania is a special kind of hell. The cold is a physical entity, a relentless predator that gnaws at you day and night. The leather of your tent freezes solid. Your wool blankets are perpetually damp. The simple act of waking up in the freezing darkness requires a monumental act of will. The ground is too frozen to dig a proper camp, so you learn to build walls of cut turf and timber, your fingers numb and clumsy with cold, your breath pluming in the frigid air. The marches are shorter but infinitely more treacherous. You slip and slide on icy trails, the weight of your gear a constant threat to your balance. A fall can mean a broken ankle, and a man who cannot march is a liability. A liability is often left behind. You see it happen to a man named Sextus. He slips on a patch of ice crossing a frozen stream, his leg twisting under him with a sickening crack. The medics do what they can, but he cannot walk. The legion cannot wait for him to heal. He is left in the care of a local allied tribe, with a few coins for his trouble. Everyone knows it's a death sentence. You march on, the column silent, no one meeting each other's eyes. You just march. Food becomes an obsession. The supply lines are unreliable in winter, and the land offers nothing. Your diet shrinks to a monotonous rotation of hardtack and preserved rations. You dream of hot bread, of roasted meat, of fresh fruit. You gnaw on your flavorless biscuit, and you remember the taste of the figs from your father's farm, the memory so vivid it makes your mouth water. Hunger is a constant, dull ache in your belly. It sharpens your senses, but it also frays your temper. Fights break out in the tents over imagined slights, over a stolen scrap of cheese, over nothing at all. The centurions quell these disputes with swift, brutal efficiency. Discipline must be maintained, especially when morale is at its lowest. And there is the boredom. The crushing, soul-destroying boredom. Weeks can go by with nothing but marching, building, and training. You stand your watch, staring into the same unending expanse of snow-dusted forest. You clean your gear until the iron shines, not because it's dirty, but because it's something to do. You tell the same stories around the fire until you are sick of the sound of your own voice. This is the unseen enemy of the Legion, not the barbarian with his axe, but the slow, creeping decay of the mind, the erosion of the soul by sheer, grinding monotony. But then, spring arrives. The thaw is a muddy, miserable affair, but it brings with it a change in the Legion's posture. The campaign season begins. The Legion is not a defensive force, it is an instrument of projection. Its purpose is to push the borders of the Empire ever outward, to pacify, to punish, and to conquer. You receive your pay. A legionary's salary is modest, but it is regular. You hold the heavy silver denarii in your hand. After deductions for your food, your boots, your burial club, and the mandatory savings fund, there isn't much left. But it is more money than you ever would have seen as a farmer. You send most of it home, entrusting it to a military courier. You imagine your family receiving it, being able to buy a new ox or repair the roof of the farmhouse. The thought brings a rare, fleeting sense of purpose. This is what you are enduring it all for. This, and the land at the end. Always the land. The summer campaign is a season of work and war. You are no longer just building marching camps. You are building permanent forts, with stone walls and watchtowers. You are building bridges over wide, fast-flowing rivers, using the brilliant engineering of the military architects. And you are building roads. Miles and miles of straight, durable Roman roads, cutting through the wilderness like a surgeon's scalpel. Every road is a declaration of intent. It says, we are here to stay. We can move our armies faster than you can gather your war bands. We can supply our forts more efficiently than you can feed your villages. We own this land now, not because we live here, but because we can cross it in force at a moment's notice. And there are the punitive expeditions. A tribe has raided a Roman settlement. A chieftain has refused to pay tribute. The Legion is dispatched to deliver a message. You march deep into territory no Roman has ever seen before. You burn villages. You destroy crops. You take captives. It is not glorious work. It is brutal, ugly, and grim. You see things that will haunt your sleep for years to come. You try to harden your heart to it. You tell yourself it is necessary. It is about imposing order on a chaotic world. But in the quiet hours of the night watch, you sometimes wonder who the real barbarians are. Years pass. You are no longer Gaius, the frightened boy. You are a veteran. You have survived. The soft edges of your youth have been worn away, replaced by the hard, pragmatic cynicism of a professional soldier. You have seen men die in a dozen different ways. You have seen the courage of your comrades and the depths of their despair. You have earned a promotion. You are now an immunes, a soldier exempt from the worst of the manual labor, with specialized skills, perhaps as a blacksmith's assistant or a cartwright's apprentice. The pay is slightly better. The work is still hard. You see new recruits arrive, their faces filled with the same mixture of fear and bravado that you once had. You see them fumbling with their gear, their eyes wide with terror during their first skirmish. And you see yourself in them. You don't offer them comfort or kindness. That is not the Roman way. But you might offer a quiet word of advice. Keep your shield up, boy. Clean your sword every night, no matter how tired you are. You are passing on the unwritten laws of survival. You learn the complex social ecosystem of the camp. You learn which centurions are fair and which are cruel. You learn which quartermasters can be bribed for better rations. You learn about the camp followers, the merchants, the craftsmen, the prostitutes, who trailed the legion like seagulls following a fishing boat, living off the economy of war. You might even find a semblance of a personal life. Many soldiers on long frontier postings enter into informal marriages with local women. It is not legally recognized by the state, but it is a common reality. Perhaps you find a woman from an allied tribe, and you have a child. This adds a new, terrifying layer to your existence. Now you are not just fighting for a distant plot of land. You are fighting for them. The years continue to pile up. 10 years. 15. 20. Your body is a wreck. Your back is a constant source of pain. Your knees ache with every step. You have a collection of scars, each one a souvenir from a different forgotten skirmish. You are no longer the young, strong man who enlisted. You are old before your time, worn down by the relentless grind. But you are still here. You have outlasted them all. You have outlasted the barbarians, the weather, the disease, and the sheer, grinding despair. Finally, the day comes. Your 25th year of service is complete. You stand before the legion's commander, the legate, a man you have only ever seen from a distance. He reads your name from a scroll. He hands you your diploma, 2 bronze tablets bound together that certify your honorable discharge, your onesta missio. It grants you Roman citizenship for yourself and your descendants. It grants you the legal right to marry your unofficial wife. And it grants you your land and your pension. You say goodbye to the few remaining men of your original contubernium. There are no tearful farewells. Just a firm clasp of the forearm, a shared look that says everything that needs to be said. You have been through hell together. And now you are free. You walk away from the camp for the last time. The sound of the cornu, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the shouts of the centurions, these sounds have been the soundtrack of your entire adult life. And now they fade behind you. The silence is deafening. You find your plot of land, in a quiet, peaceful corner of Gaul. It is not a grand estate. It is a small farm, just enough to support your family. You build a house with your own 2 hands. You work the land. You watch your children grow. You are no longer Gaius, the legionary. You are Gaius, the farmer. You are Gaius, the father. You are Gaius, the citizen of Rome. The screen fades in, not on a military camp, but on a simple, rustic scene. A small, roughly built farmhouse with a thatched roof. A field of wheat, shimmering gold under a late afternoon sun. The sounds are different now, the gentle buzz of insects, the rustle of wind through the wheat, the distant cry of a bird. It is a scene of profound peace. An older Gaius, his face lined and weathered, his body thickened with age, is repairing a wooden fence. His movements are slow, deliberate, stiff. So you walk away. You leave the iron and the mud behind you. You take your bronze diploma, the legal proof of your transformation, and you find your plot of land in a quiet corner of Gaul. It is a peaceful place. The kind of place you dreamed about during those endless, freezing night watches in Germania. You build a home. You marry the woman who waited for you, your unofficial union now sanctified by Roman law. Your children, once bastards in the eyes of the state, are now citizens. You have done it. You have won the grand prize. But peace is a foreign country, and you are a stranger here. The first thing you notice is the silence. In the Legion, there was always noise. The constant, rhythmic thump of the march, the clank of armor, the barked orders of the centurions, the low murmur of 5,000 men living on top of each other. The noise was oppressive, but it was also a kind of comfort. It was the sound of the machine, the sound of your world. Here, on your small farm, the silence is a physical presence. It presses in on you. At night, it is so absolute that you can hear the blood pounding in your own ears. And in that silence, the memories come. You try to farm. You know how to do this. You were a farmer's son before you were a soldier. But your body, the body that endured 25 years of marching and digging, betrays you. Your back, abused by decades of carrying the sarcina, seizes up when you bend to till the soil. Your knees, worn down by thousands of miles of marching, ache with a fiery pain, especially when the weather turns damp. You have the knowledge, but you no longer have the instrument. You are a broken tool. The skills that kept you alive for a quarter of a century are useless here. You know how to build a fortified camp in 3 hours. You do not know how to negotiate with the grain merchant in the local town, who you are certain is cheating you. You know how to kill a man with a 19-inch sword. You do not know how to comfort your youngest child when they wake from a nightmare. You are fluent in the language of shouted commands and horn calls. You are clumsy and awkward with the soft, gentle words of a husband and a father. Your wife, Ilara, is a patient woman. She is a native of a Gallic tribe that allied with Rome. She understands, in a way that no Roman woman ever could, the world you came from. She saw the legion march through her village as a child. She knows the look in a soldier's eyes. She does not ask you about the scars on your back or the way you sometimes stare into the distance, your face a mask of stone. She simply runs the household, manages the farm, and creates a small pocket of warmth and order in the chaos of your mind. You love her with a fierce, protective loyalty, the same loyalty you once felt for the men in your contubernum. It is the only way you know how to love. Your neighbors are other veterans. The Roman state often settled retired legionaries and colonies together, creating pockets of military loyalty in newly conquered territories. You meet them in the market town. You recognize them instantly. It's in the way they stand, the way their eyes are always scanning the horizon, the way they can sit together for an hour without saying a word, comfortable in a shared, unspoken understanding. You gather at the local tavern, a rough place that smells of spilled wine and wood smoke. You drink. You talk about the old days. But you don't talk about the battles. You don't talk about the fear. You talk about the mundane things. You complain about the food, just like Quintus used to. You make jokes about a particularly cruel centurion you all served under. You talk about the sheer, mind-numbing absurdity of it all. Remember that bridge we built over the Rhenus? One man, an old engineer, will say. The one the legate wanted finished in 3 days? I swear by the gods, we built that thing with spit and stubbornness. You laugh. But the laughter doesn't quite reach your eyes. These men are the only ones who understand. They are the only ones who know what it feels like to have the ghost of the Legion living inside you. They are the last remnants of your brotherhood. But even with them, you are lonely. The Legion was a collective. Your every action, your very identity, was tied to the group. You were Gaius of the second cohort, fourth maniple, 1st century. Your place in the world was clearly defined. Here you are just Gaius. A farmer. A husband. A father. And the freedom you dreamed of for so long feels like a terrifying, anchorless void. The nights are the worst. Sleep, which was once a precious, stolen commodity, is now a minefield. You find yourself waking up in a cold sweat, your heart pounding, the ghost of a scream caught in your throat. You dream of ambushes in the forest, of the look on a dying man's face, of the terrifying, crushing weight of a collapsing shield wall. You once woke up your entire household by shouting, "Form ranks!" in your sleep. You saw the fear in your children's eyes the next morning, and the shame was a physical pain, sharper than any wound you ever received. So you start taking the last watch. You tell your wife you can't sleep. You sit outside your farmhouse, a heavy cloak wrapped around you, and you watch the moon travel across the sky. You are on guard. You are protecting your family. You are protecting your small piece of land. It is the only thing that feels natural. It is the only time your mind feels calm. You are a sentry, watching over the quiet, sleeping frontier of your own life. Years continue to pass. Your children grow up. They are Romans, but they are also Gauls. They speak Latin with an accent. They know the local gods as well as they know Jupiter and Mars. They are the living embodiment of the empire you helped to build, a fusion of cultures held together by the roads you built and the peace you fought for. Your son is strong and good with the land. He does not have your limp or the haunted look in your eyes. You have given him a life without the grind. And you realize, in a moment of quiet, profound clarity, that this was the entire point. It wasn't about the glory. It wasn't even about the land. It was about this. About ensuring that your son would never have to become you. One day, a column of soldiers marches down the road you helped build 20 years ago. They are young men, their armor polished, their faces filled with the same arrogant confidence you once had. They are heading north, to a new posting on a new, even more distant frontier. They march with the familiar, relentless rhythm. Thump, clank, squeak. You stand by the side of your field and you watch them pass. And for a moment, a strange, powerful longing washes over you. A longing for the simplicity of it all. A longing for the brotherhood. A longing for a world where your purpose was clear, your enemies were obvious, and your life was not your own. The young legionaries see an old, broken-down farmer, leaning on a fence. They do not see the veteran who held the line against the German charge. They do not see the engineer who bridged the rivers of barbarism. They do not see the sentry who stood watch over their world while they slept. They see a civilian, a man who is not part of the machine. The column passes. The sound of the march fades into the distance. You are left in the silence. You turn and look at your farmhouse, at the smoke curling from the chimney, at your wife calling you in for the evening meal. This is your life now. It is quiet. It is painful. It is peaceful. And it is yours. You have survived the grind. Now you must simply survive the peace. And you are not sure which is harder. The screen holds on the image of the old farmer, a lonely, resilient figure standing between the memory of the road and the reality of his home. The image is held for a long, contemplative moment, allowing the full weight of his journey to settle in, before it slowly, gently, fades to black. The screen shows a much older Gaius. He is frail, his hands gnarled with arthritis, his face a veritable map of deep wrinkles. He sits on a simple stone bench outside his farmhouse, a heavy wool blanket draped over his thin shoulders. The sun is low in the sky, casting a long, golden, melancholic light over his small farm. His movements are minimal, his breathing slow and shallow. And so the seasons turn, and turn again. The quiet, peaceful years pile up, one on top of the other, forming a different kind of life, a life built on the foundations of the old one. Your children grow and have children of their own. You are a grandfather now. A nonus. You watch your grandchildren play in the fields you once struggled to tame, their laughter a sound that is both a joy and a strange, alien music to your ears. You have built this peace for them. But peace, it turns out, has its own kind of weight. It is a heavy blanket of quiet days, and under it, the ghosts of your past stir. Your body is a road map of old wars. The long, puckered scar on your thigh from a German spear. The knot of hardened muscle in your shoulder where a blow from an axe was turned by your armor. The faint, silvery lines on your back from a centurion's vitus. A punishment for some long-forgotten infraction. Because, of course, the body keeps score. It is the most honest historian. One afternoon, your grandson, a boy of 8 with his mother's Gallic eyes and a Roman stubbornness, climbs onto the bench beside you. He is quiet for a long time, watching the sun sink towards the hills. Then, he points a small finger at the prominent scar on your forearm. "What is this, Nonus?" he asks, his voice filled with innocent curiosity. You look down at the scar. You remember the chaotic violence of that moment, the clash of shields, the scream of a dying man, the flash of a barbarian's blade. How do you explain that to a child who has only ever known peace? How do you describe the smell of blood and fear to someone whose world smells of hay and baked bread? How do you translate the language of the grind into the language of a quiet life? You cannot. So you simply place your gnarled hand over his. It was the price. You say, your voice a dry, reedy whisper. The price for this. And you gesture with your head towards the peaceful fields, the warm stone of the farmhouse, towards the boy himself. He doesn't understand, not really. But he nods, satisfied with the answer. He leans his head against your shoulder, and together, you watch the sun go down. As true old age settles in, the world begins to shrink. Your days are measured not by miles marched, but by the slow journey from your bed to this stone bench. Your wife, Elara, is gone now, laid to rest in the small plot of earth behind the house. Her absence is a silence within the silence, a quiet ache that never truly fades. Your son and his family care for you, their kindness a gentle, unfamiliar comfort. But in the deepest parts of yourself, you are still alone. You are the last of your contubernium. Lucius, Quintus, Marcus, they are all gone. Some fell in later campaigns. Some, like you, survived their 25 years, only to be claimed by sickness or time. You are the last man on watch. You sit on your bench as the final twilight of your life gathers around you. The physical world begins to fade. Your eyesight is dim. Your hearing is poor. But the world of your memory is more vivid than ever. You can feel the familiar weight of the Larica segmentata on your shoulders. You can feel the worn leather grip of the gladius in your hand. You can hear the rhythmic, eternal sound of the march. Thump, clank, squeak. The sounds of your farm, the lowing of a cow, your daughter-in-law calling the children in for the night, begin to recede. They are replaced by the sounds of the camp. The clang of the blacksmith's hammer. The barked orders of Centurion Vibius. The low murmur of men sharing stories around a dying fire. You are no longer an old man on a farm in Gaul. You are a young soldier, standing on an earthen wall in the heart of a German forest. The air is cold. The darkness is absolute. You are on watch. You have always been on watch. Your entire life since leaving the Legion, you now realize, has just been one long, quiet, final watch. You close your eyes. The last rays of the sun leave the sky, and the world goes dark. But this darkness is not empty. It is familiar. It is the darkness of the tent, the darkness of the forest, the darkness of a life spent at the edge of the world. You feel a profound sense of peace settle over you. The aches in your body fade away. The weight of your memories lightens. The long, grueling march is finally over, and in the final, fading moment of your consciousness, you hear one last, familiar sound carried on the wind. Not the voices of your family, but the clear, crisp, final blast of the cornu. A single, sustained note that signals the end of the watch. The call that releases you from your post. You are relieved from duty. The screen is completely black. The silence is absolute, profound, and final. After a long pause, the narrator's voice, now just a gentle whisper, returns for the very last time. If you want to see more interesting stories like this, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments.